All right, back in the studio. Got Johnny Blue here, Pastor John Blue. The name of your church?
Pacific Point Church.
Pacific Point Church.
Yep.
Where?
Costa Mesa, California.
In Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
So all of our OC folks,
come on and join us.
Come and check
10
it out.
Sunday mornings.
Yeah, because that's where you do the kind of church. I went to one of your church services. This was years ago.
Oh.
And no, it was amazing because I remember because I'm more about the people that are around me, right? I'm always paying attention to that. There was something different about the kind of people that were there. They were real. Yeah. Right, you go to a lot of churches, and I get to go to a lot of churches when I speak there, or I'm there for some event, whatever. Yeah, and you go to some of these churches, and some of these guys they're talking, they're saying certain things. Zach just told me to take my hat off. I gotta take my hat off.
Yeah. That'll work, Zach. Jeez, we had a flow.
He's laughing at me.
Yeah.
So. You get in some of these churches and you can tell that the kind of people that's not who I'm going to be dealing with if in 4 hours from now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're checking in.
Yep. Well, I got around your folks. I was like, these are real deal people. This is how it is. And I was like, man, if I was in Orange County, this is where I'd be. Man. So that's
my wife says I have the gift of thinning the crowd.
Yeah.
So that is, we're not a big church. We're 80 to 120 people, but there's a really a thought process behind that. I don't want 200-300 people that don't care. Yeah. I'd rather have 70 people that are ready to fight, that are ready to be mobilized, that are living what we're talking about, not just showing up, checking in twice a month, and just so they feel good about themselves.
You know what we should do? We should do this.
What's that?
At your church.
Oh, that would be fun.
Not really, not podcast, but let's go there and let's just have this conversation.
Love it.
With in front of your folks and just get and get after it. Just
would love it.
Let them. I mean, would they dig that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be fun. Let's do that. So where we left off, I was asking you about smack talking.
Yes.
So when they are going to, there's going to be the exchange you're going to have with the audience.
Yeah.
But then there's a different dynamic that happens on the ice, right? And this is a very common thing. And this is a dynamic that people often miss about adversity. There is what the fighter is experiencing.
Yeah.
And then what the people watching are perceiving.
Right.
It's often two different things. MMA fighters. I can't tell you how many MMA fighters that I know, or coaches. Like one of the guys that I love training with him. His name is Ricky Lundell. He's actually going to be on this next. Nice. I think I have him next. But listening to him talk about the exchange between a coach and his fighter. Especially when you're in the cage, and sometimes it's televised, sometimes it's not. He goes, but the camera never picks up what's really going on.
Interesting.
But then there's another. So that's a pretty intimate dynamic. Now the cage door closes, the guys leave, door shuts, it gets locked, and it's you and that dude. There's a ref in there.
Yeah.
But there is a conversation happening between the guys. Sometimes it's verbal. Yeah. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's body language. Sometimes it's a look. Sometimes it's when when you're on your back and you're looking up at that dude and the look he gives you lets you know kind of like, well, hey, this is what's about to happen. This is real. This is and your reaction, the look you get back. If you're the guy on top and you're giving the look, or you say something, or you do whatever, the response you get back from that guy is often going to let the two guys in the cage know who's going to win that fight.
Yeah.
They know the outcome before the outcome is ever like the arm is raised. Oftentimes, right? There's a few exceptions to that. I'm sure, where guys get a look and they're just like, nope. Ain't happening. Nope. F and you. I am going. I haven't even begun to fight, right? This is about to get crazy. So my question to you is, on the ice, right? The conversation between between the players, and I'm not talking like the verbal conversation, the tensions, the stuff that happens. Like, what are some really interesting things that stand out in your mind when you think about the adversity that happens on the ice, the conflicts?
Yeah, there's different dynamics to it. It's really interesting. So because there's a pecking order in there too. So what do I mean by like I was an incredibly average backup goaltender. So it is what it is.
I think a lot of people would argue with that.
Yeah. No. So I did not have the latitude to talk the way I like to talk, which I love trash talk. I love trash. Now in the leagues that I play in, people just hate me. They just absolutely hate me. And they wonder how I could be a pastor. They wonder how I could be a man of God. They wonder what. It's interesting. I go out and play, and I can't do it at 50%. And I get serious. Like, I get serious about the win. I get serious about the score. I get serious about everything. And these guys get freaked out. And they're like, why do you care so much? I'm like, why don't you care so much? There's a level of that when you function at a certain level, it's hard to function at a 2 or 3 when you've tried to function at a 9 or 10. Sidebar there, but
yeah. No, I'm tracking. I get it.
So as far as trash talking, I would love to trash talk. The problem was when you're not that good. I was good, but I wasn't. There's not a lot of latitude to trash talk because it'll bite you in the ass. Excuse me. So I would walk a little more on pins and needles personally, and just kind of I'd watch the play develop. I wouldn't say a whole lot. I had no problem slashing or hitting guys in the nuts from their standing in front of the net and chopping them and everything, but I didn't talk a lot. Guys would talk to me, and what they'd say is, "You're awful." Or they'd skate by the net and go, "What are you doing here? Why? How are you in this league?" Things like that. It's all a big mind game. They want to get you off their game. Whether they meant it or not, well, they probably did. I don't know. But it's get in his head and let him think. And the way you address that as a goalie. Now, goalie is a game within the game. You're playing a whole mind game outside of what they're playing. Because if you look at a hockey rink and someone scores, does anybody go, "Oh man, that forward really missed picking up that back checker and who made the pass to get the score"? Yeah. No one's going, "Oh, the forward really screwed that up." They're going, "This goalie is horseshit." That's what they're saying, So that's what they see. So there's a game within the game mentally that you're playing and stability, and you're seeing everything happen, and the puck's flying at 100 miles an hour, and guys are skating at 25 miles an hour, and passes are coming here and all over the stuff. So my game couldn't be trash talk because I had to focus. I just couldn't have. Now there's great play. Patrick Waugh, one of the greatest, arguably the greatest goalie of all time. But Patrick would guys would come in and he'd make a great save and he'd just wink at them, or he would just in French just undress them. But there's always that going on. Now, again, leadership styles, you look at a guy like Ray Bork, who was a Hall of Famer, was our captain and never said a word. But he was that guy that if he's, you're talking about fighting, he's on top of you and he just looks you in the eye and you're like, "I'm done." You just see it in his eyes and you just knew, and there's just a steady. So you're reading the room. You got a guy, Matthew Barnaby, who had played with in Buffalo, who just couldn't stop but talk. But he backed it up. He was a small guy, but he'd fly around and he'd throw his body effortlessly into any situation. Didn't matter what it was. He would fight the heavyweights. He'd fight the guys that weren't heavyweights. He'd fight anybody that needed to fight so he could continually back up what he was saying. And people hated him. He would stir things up. He's the guy that you want on your team, you don't want to play against. So there's all these dynamics that are constantly happening in the game, that are the games beneath the games that you're seeing, not to mention the coaches that the mind games that they like to play with you and speak and go through, and then you take the dynamic of media and what they're saying, and it's just like all these layers. When you're going into a game, you've got to focus and go, okay, that's got to go, don't listen to him, don't do that, just focus. So it's an interesting dynamic.
How about the dynamic in and amongst the team? Like I imagine just like anywhere. I mean, it's like in the military. It's like you got a team. You guys are going to get out. You're going to go and do. You're going to go do God's work. You're going to go do it well. Yeah. But on the way back, you're going to be sitting down at chow, and there's it's going to be like, so
how did that go in?
Yeah. There's going to be a little bit of chatter going on.
Absolutely.
Guys smack talking each other behind their back or in front of their face or whatever. It's just it happens.
Yeah. That's called being a man.
Yeah.
And we've got all these again, let's go back to, the culture we're in. They want to, you can't talk that way to one another. Oh, you can't have sarcasm. Oh, don't speak that. Oh, you're going to hurt his feelings. Mm-hmm. How do you become a man? It's when my buddy looks me in the eyes and go, how the hell did you let that goal in? And then laughs. And you go, okay, let me think about it. How am I going to respond? What am I going to do the next time? It builds up who you are. There's always truth in those little cutting comments that you make. You're out with your boys. Yours is a little more life and death, and they make something and they make a comment to you. You don't just go, that's great, let's move on. No, you think you may bust balls in the moment and laugh and do that, but knowing you as a critical thinker, and I know that I'd go, okay, let me think, where's the truth in that? How do I adjust? Mm-hmm. See, that's the way God created us as men. To sit in a locker room and go, you're horseshit. No, you're horseshit. No, you're this. No, you're that. And then we regroup and we get thick skin and we fight through and we learn how to be men by having this interchange and this interaction, so that when we go in the world and when it really counts in the world and someone's attacking you or your family or your wife, you go, no, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to take a stand here.
Yeah.
When truth is being manipulated, when someone tells you that a boy can be a boy or can be a girl, then and you're not willing to go, no, that's not how it is. There are men and there are women. There are boys and there are girls. Now, let's just settle that. You want to go do whatever you want, that's fine. Go do what you want to do. You want to go transition, fine. That's your life. Mm-hmm. But don't sit here and demand that I say a lie and say that you're not what you are. My point to that, again, is when you have those interactions in these men times, whether with a teams or whether it's a hockey team, that's where you learn how to stand for truth, for what is right. In those hockey, locker rooms is where you find the guy who's the weakest, that someone may be, being a complete asshole picking on you. You go, no, I'll take a stand for him. What are you doing? And I've seen locker rooms where guys just full out brawl, where there's full on fights.
Yeah.
I won one championship in my life. It's crazy. My buddies always bust my chops. I've played in the Final Four. I've played in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've played in the Olympics. I've played in the World Champs. I have never won anything. But in the minors and AAA, we won a championship, and it's a long run. It's a grind, and you just get tense with one another. And I remember, we're round 3 or 4, and one of the guys comes down and just takes a slap shot and hits me in the head in practice. And I lose my mind, and I chase him down the rink, and I chuck my stick at him, I tackle him, and and the rest of the guys are just laughing. They think it's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. But I'm losing it, and the coach just watched. Knowing full well that if you're with a group of men for a long period of time, you're going to see this interaction. It's not bad. It's what you do with it. Mm-hmm. It's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
That is critical for a man.
Yeah.
So to try to take that out and that interaction, that trash talk, it's part of who we are.
My business partner and I, Brian, he's one of my favorite people on this planet, and we have just over a decade of doing various business stuff together, and some of them work really well, some of them don't, some of them struggle for a while, then do. I mean, it's just all those ups and downs, and through that, you're not always going to see eye to eye. No. We actually have got to the point where we will schedule arguments and fights.
It's good.
And I say, come on out. We'll get on the quad. We'll run down to the cul-de-sac, which is like we call it the cul-de-sac. It's just like it's a tree. It's a small open field that's surrounded by trees, just on the west end of the drop zone. And we will sit down or we'll stand like 10 feet apart from each other, and I'll tell him you can go first.
Yeah,
you got 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and he's like, got it. He stands on his line and lets it rip.
Oh, I love it.
5 minutes of him stating his case, his side of the argument.
Right.
Now it's my turn. Right. Yeah. Now I state my side of it, but you can't interrupt. You have to hear it all the way through.
Yeah.
At the end of that, we switch. So we both
argue for one another.
Yes. Now I have to argue his point. He has to argue my point.
Yeah.
And through that, I have often, I'd say 70% of that, I came out on the other side of those kinds of discussions saying, I get it now. I completely understand.
Yeah.
But the reason we can do that, one, is that I can trust him with a disagreement.
Yeah.
Because we're both men and we understand how we're wired. We're both wired to win. And and everybody's heard that phrase, would you rather be right or would you rather be married? Would you rather be right or would you rather have that relationship, that friendship? Would you rather be right or would you rather be employed?
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of those, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, and I always tell him, like, I cherish our friendship above any business dealings that we do together.
It's good.
And I will trade those any day for you.
Yeah.
And I mean it. I am not going to give that up. And Brian and I were talking about this a while ago, and he just said, how many businesses do you think have guys like that at the helm that would treat each other like that? Like when we go at it, we go at it. Like it's people would look at it and say, well, I can't believe you just said that to each other. That's unfair.
Here's what I love about this. Okay, so men have to have this. They have to have the I'll tell you, you tell me. But the balance of that is this thing called empathy.
Yes.
See, we've lost the art of empathy. See, we can't have the engagement in the locker room, the fighting, the sarcasm, unless you're willing to step into the empathy. It's about 10 years ago, I was listening to Jim Rome and his show he does. You know, he's got Rome is Burning. Well, I don't know, whatever it is. And he was talking about a basketball player that had made $110 million and lost everything. Played for Philadelphia, one of the great guards. Cash, what's his name? I just went blank. Anyways, he was talking about it, and this guy calls in, and this guy goes, I can't believe that guy lost all that money, 110, and he's got his posse, and he's got this, and he's that guy. And Jim Rohn goes, hold on a second. I'll never forget. He says, hold on. He said, do you live in Orange County? And the guy's like, yeah. How do you? He's like, it's no lie. Are you driving a BMW? And the guy's like, yeah. How do you know that? He's like, do you have parents that are married? And he just starts breaking them down. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? He's like, who the hell are you to judge this man who is a black man, whose father was murdered in the city, who lives in the city, who never knew how to deal with money, never had a mentor, never had anyone to show him how to be a man. And all of a sudden at 18, he's playing this man's game, getting unbelievable, ungodly amounts of money, and then you have an expectation for him to do what he should do with it. Who the hell are you to judge him?
Nice.
And that's where men,
wonder what that other guy said. But he just vapor locked.
Rome, he doesn't, he doesn't
pull
bury
punches.
some and stuff,
Yeah.
But the point is this: men, don't give me the fight unless you're willing to have the empathy. It's the marriage of those two, because you step in the shoes of another man and things, like you said with your business partner, all of a sudden you step in his shoes, you're thinking the way he thinks, and you're saying what he says, and you're going, holy shit, maybe I missed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a little bit, maybe I don't know everything. I think I know everything. I like to know everything, but I don't know everything. Empathy is this lost art. Trying to teach my boys, trying to teach men. It's this tension that you walk in. And if you can walk in this tension of empathy and fight, you're going to do a lot of great things.
That's ultimate warrior stuff.
Yeah.
And empathy doesn't really develop in a man until he's usually past 20 years old.
Yeah, it's experience.
It's experience. You have to have some, and there's brain development that goes with empathy, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you start teaching them empathy ways early, like just step into that guy's shoes for a minute. Hey, understand when my oldest, when he was about 7 or 8 years old, he could not understand why people are standing on the street corner holding a sign that says, food or anything helps or God bless or I just need a sandwich or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't understand why they're there. And so what happened? And trying to explain to him that there is a decision-making process that all of us go through, that you are going to be at some point a product of your decisions.
Right.
But at the same time, many of these guys that are here, man, some of it, they may have brokenness so far and so deep in their family, no way out, and nobody to say, hey, let me get in it with you and demonstrate a standard, that what they're going to do is they're going to turn to what they know, and that may be alcohol. It may be drugs. You do that stuff long enough, now you're going to end up with mental health issues, and before you know it, this is the life that you're leading. And I was explaining this to him, and he said, so do they need help? I said, 100% they need help. So we had a daddy date plan that night. He and I were going to go to a movie or something. Yeah. And so he gets in, we go out, we get in the car. I say, okay. Yeah. Where are we going? What do you want to do? And he goes, I want to go to the store. Yeah. We went to the store and we got, I think we got he went and picked out like 20 sandwiches out of like the deli thing. Yeah. He goes, get a case of water. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, you'll see, Dad. Go through. And I had an idea where this was going. We went through the checkout and he goes, take me to the worst part of town in San Diego where these guys are going to be. This is Micah. Yeah. And
take him downtown.
So I took him right to the heart of where all these guys are. Yeah. And we're driving around and here's me, like I'm like a little bit out of place, and I'm like it's like, okay, and he has a sandwich and some water and he goes, hey, stop it right here. And I cracked the window just far enough to be able to squeeze the sandwich and the water out.
Hilarious.
And Micah's just like, Dad. And he takes it, and he unlocks his door, opens the door, walks out, and he goes, hey, and he goes up to this guy, and he goes, have you eaten dinner yet? And the guy was like, no, sir. And he was calling the 7-year-old sir. Wow. And he goes, well, here you go. And the guy was like, oh, thanks. And he goes to give him a hug, and the guy looks at me. Yeah. and I just kind of give him you're good. Up. The fact that he checked with me, I was like, this dude, he's not as far out there as people think he is. Yeah. And so Micah just took took license with it and just started grabbing waters. And I'm trying to keep up with him. I'm in the car following around, and he's like putting them in people's, like they have their little tent set up. And he when he was walking back, so I stopped. I let him get about 30 yards away, which to me was like that was right at the line of what that line was. Yeah. And he gave all the stuff out. And he turns around and he's walking back, and all these homeless people kind of start coming out of their shelters and stuff. And he's walking back, and the way they were treating him, and he got back in the car, and we had the empathy talk. And I said, hey, what you just experienced was the first time that you have probably come head to head with an empathetic situation where you responded, and you responded right. Yeah. I said, but as you grow older, the empathy stuff that's going to happen is going to happen more subtle, and it's going to happen inside of conversations, and it's going to happen in and amongst your friends, and it's going to happen with your mom, it's going to happen with me, it's going to happen with your brother and your sister, and those aren't so obvious. Yeah, those are the little ones, and they're going to happen in the middle of controversy. It's going to happen in the middle of an argument, and how are you going to respond then?
That's good.
And he said, well, I don't know. I guess I'll have to see, because I don't know what you're talking about. Like he responded like, here's me talking to him like he's like he's Zach, and it's not. He's like I would expect, Zach's like, yeah, cool, check, got it. A 7-year-old's gonna be like, what? Yeah, that's hilarious. But no, you're so right though. Empathy and the fight have to go hand in hand. And there are times too where it's just it's all fight. We have crossed the Rubicon, dude. There is no empathy. You don't get quarter. You're getting full. I'm in full burn down mode on you, and that's gonna happen. And I would suspect that somebody is gonna break into your house and with bad intentions.
Yeah,
they're probably not gonna fare so well.
Absolutely. Well, this is the crux of Christianity and Jesus for me. Because the Jesus that I read in the Bible, the Jesus that I see was the strongest man. See, strength is great men or have the ability to control their strength. And if God was fully man, fully God, fully man, Jesus, like if I'm Jesus, I'm wiping people out. Just like, zap, you're done. But it just, I'm on the cross. People start questioning me and mocking me. Done. Lightning's flowing. Absolutely you. So, but this Jesus was so strong and controlled that it blows my mind. That he would look in the eyes of the Pharisees that were just self-righteous, just religious people, and then he'd look in the eyes of the drunkard and the prostitute, and he could see truth, and he'd speak to that truth, and the empathy that he'd bring. He had no patience for the religious people, self-righteous religious people that think they have it all. But the men and the women who didn't have it all together, but were hurting, he would step into, and that's why. You asked earlier about how do you go into this? It's like I encountered this Jesus that was just mind blowing to me.
Tell me about that. Tell me about your testimony, like how that happened.
Yeah, I grew up in the church and always coming and going, but at 17 I left home, and that just started the journey. I was never crazy, but pretty much on my own at 17, saying that I was a Christian and trying to live as a Christian, and completely all over the map. I was saying I was a Christian, and to try to, I'd go drink by myself, or I'd go, sneak girls in and out and stuff. And then when I got to the NHL, I was playing. I met a guy named that we both know, Greg Ball, who just started. I started meeting with and talking about God. And one day he came to me and he said, look, here's the deal. If you want to live the life you're living, go ahead and live it, but stop telling people you're Christian because you're giving us a bad name.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, F you. I'm playing in the NHL in Boston, and who do you think you are? And then it started to sit inside my soul, that what we talked about, you critically, you think, what did that mean? What was he saying? What does that look like? And then I realized that I was exactly who he said I was, a hypocrite in every aspect of the word. I had my little verse on the back of my mask, and made me feel good, and rub the genie in the bottle, and get what you want. But I didn't have a relationship. And at that moment, he says, if you want to know what it means to follow Jesus, he said, give me a call. Change my life. Change my life. I had this encounter with God. I had this encounter with the creator of heaven and earth. And what I started to realize was purpose, why I was here, why he created me, what I was doing. I started to realize this thing wasn't about me, it's about others. I started to realize that all the money, all the sex, all the fame, all the it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
There has to be more. At one moment, I remember sitting in the Boston Garden again, and I just got my first paycheck, and this was 91, 92, and it was like $15,000 after taxes for 2 weeks. I wasn't making a ton, but in those days, it's pretty good for a 25-year-old kid. But I remember looking at it and going, God, there's got to be more. This can't be it, because the reality is I got to do this again tomorrow, and if I don't do it again tomorrow, this doesn't come. It's all attached, and I had this revelation. It's like there's got to be more. And I encountered more, and that more was Jesus, and it changed my life.
Greg Ball is. I have heard from so many people about those conversations that he's had with guys.
Man, that speaks truth.
Yeah. Just talking with some of the boys from back in the Champions days, Force Ministries days, and going to those conferences and oh yeah, he was a get up and get in your face type of fella, man.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So that was towards the end of your NHL career. And then after that, then you made the decision after NHL to walk me through like the transition from NHL into normal life, where it was now it's trying to figure out what you're going to do next, or
Yeah, that's always, again, identity and a little tricky thing. My career was coming in. I'd played in Boston, and then I'd finished in Buffalo, and I basically backed up Dominic Hasek, who was the greatest goalie of all time, just a freak, unbelievable player. And I played almost 10 years, 10 years pro. My body was starting to give. I've had 2 hip replacements since, and it's just when you know. I'm sure it's similar to with teams. It's like I'm done. And let me tell you, it's so much better to be able to do it on your own terms when you know than have them throw you out. So that was a blessing. So I just retired and went home to California. I just married. No, I just got engaged to my wife. No, I just married Chris. Jeez, that she was a Laker girl, and then she was at USC, and we bought a house in Long Beach. We were living in Long Beach, and Greg, the same guy, calls me and he says, "Look," he says, "I think you're supposed to be in the ministry." He's like, "Why don't you pack up, bring your family, come to Austin, Texas, and get in the ministry?" And I said, "Well, what does that pay?" He's like, "Nothing." You know what I'm about.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I can get nothing.
Yeah.
He's like, you raise support and you'll learn what it means to be in the ministry. And I said, well, that's intriguing. And he said, but here's what's going to happen. He said, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to get an offer that's greater than what I'm giving you right now. And it's not the right offer. This is what you're supposed to be doing. I said, okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Dude.
Sure enough.
Oh, my God. 4 or 5 days later, I get a call from my agent. Boston Bruins called. They want you to come and interview for the color commentary job. They think you're our guy. I do a lot of TV stuff and fairly well spoken. And they're like, we want you out here. And you know, I mean, a dream job. You're talking sports. You're talking about the game. You're with the boys. You're traveling. You're making good money. They're like, you're our guy. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Exactly what he said would happen. And I looked at my wife and I said, what are we doing? You know, I told my parents like, you're crazy. There's no choice. There's one choice. Go do the color commentary. Go, go with the team. And we prayed and felt clear as could be that I was supposed to be in the ministry. Called my agent, said, done. And literally, Chris was finishing school at USC. Her senior year, I flew or drove to Austin, Texas to get in the ministry. Now, here's what's funny. Austin had just gotten a minor league team, but it was like Slapshot. Have you ever seen Slapshot?
Yes.
It's the minors of the minor. It is a ball. Terrible. I had just got done flying in private planes, playing in Buffalo and all over, and I go to Austin, and the coach, Blaine Stout, and I don't know how he knew I was there, but found out I was there, and he's like, come play for our team. I'm like, really? I'm like, what? This is terrible hockey. He's like, you'll be the exception player. You'll make $1,000 a week. Most guys are making like $250 a week and stuff. And I asked Greg, and he's like, well, you could do both right now. And I'm like, well, what the heck? I'll just play this league and do the ministry stuff. Dude, it was the most bootleg thing. We're on 12-hour bus rides, and 12-hour bus rides. And these guys, they're all 20 years old. I'm 30. I'm at the end of my career. I don't freaking care anymore. Yeah. We'd be in the locker room before the game, and I'd tell the stick boy, I'm like, oh, give me a hot dog. And it's pregame, and we're getting ready to go out, and I'm just pounding a hot dog, and guys are, what are you doing? We got a game to play. I'm like, this is what we do in the show, They would, no, never, not even close. I used to take a Snickers bar, and I'd stick it down in my pads for during the game. Yeah, and it's just total foolishness. So we're playing in Belton one time. Belton outside of Austin, Texas, about an hour. We're playing the Belton Bulls, and we're getting ready, and they're singing the national anthem. They sing the national anthem. I'm standing on the blue line. I turn around, and there's this bull head and this bull, full garb, and he's in the crease, the goalie crease, and he's banging his stick. I'm like, what the is this guy doing? I'm like, this is such bootleg. I'm telling you, in a split second in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to knock the hell out of this mascot. And I'm thinking, at Disney, you go to Disneyland, how much do you just want to punch Mickey? Right. Just drop one of those guys. Every guy every guy worth his salt wants to knock out one of those characters. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not at Disneyland, so I'm not going to get arrested. I'm with 5,000 drunk cowboys. What the hell? This is the best scenario ever. I dart for the crease. He's there. I cross-check him. He lands on his head's on sideways, and I just start feeding him. The place goes nuts, and they're throwing things at me and yelling, and the game hasn't even started. bull's head sideways, and I'm beating the shit out of a bull. Some poor kid who weighs 140 pounds in a bull suit. The ref comes over. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I get the bull out of my crease. Get him out of here." He's like, "I don't know what to do. Do I give you a penalty? Do I kick you out of the game? I've never seen this before." I'm like, "Just get the bull off the ice and let me play hockey." It was the most bootleg of leagues, and you could just do whatever you want. And it was, so I beat the hell out of the bull. So it.
I bet the guys in your team were just my man.
Absolutely. They're like, "You're out of your mind. What are you doing?" He's like, "This is what we do in the show. Come on. Don't you guys know that?"
Nice.
You know? So that was the transition. I did that a little bit. Then I just got in the ministry and started planting churches and working with professional and college athletes and kind of talking about the same journey that I've been on, you know, and where I met you through all that and some of the stuff you're going through. And gosh, was Austin for 9 years, moved back to California.
I was at your house in Austin.
Ago. Oh,
yep.
I don't remember that.
Yep, I was at your house. It was a big old house too. You guys had
the big one story with the overlook. Yeah,
it was
Texas. You can.
That was
5,000 square feet and
that was a lot of house.
2 acres.
And here's me, a San Diego dude.
Yeah,
I'm out there.
You're like, what? I think it was $100 though, so it didn't matter. Right. You know, or in Texas, it was unbelievable. So, but I was there for 9 years and moved back to California. Been here for about 17 years and doing church, and then I've just kind of slowly transitioned into leadership and working with corporations and working with individuals and doing speaking and doing
so you're doing a lot of leadership,
yes,
and coaching, coaching in the area of leadership for I saw on your bio for some litigation firms and for and some other
just different companies that
that just want you to come in and just help kind of like just kind of set some perspective for their folks.
Absolutely. This summer I went in and worked with Boise State football coaching staff, talked about how do you lead young men? How do you shape young men? How do you impact young men? And my philosophy in what I train on in business is there's three. It's a three-legged stool, and it's culture, it's communication, it's the bus. And what I teach on is if you can have those three, you're going to be successful in business. And the bus is Jim Collins, you know, good to great. Get the right people on the bus. If you get the right people on the bus and you know how to communicate to them clearly and they know their expectations and what you want from them, okay, if you do that and you have a culture where you value people and you really listen to people and you build people up, you'll have a cup of coffee with somebody. You do those three things, you'll have a successful company. You'll do well.
Yeah.
So I just train on that.
And your church?
Church, Pacific Point. Yeah, we've got this great little church. We're next to a brewery and a nightclub. So it's wonderful. We've had people stumble in. We've seen needles on the ground. We've seen, you know, it's a perfect place, right where Jesus would be, right in the bar, right in the middle of the thing.
I love it.
Great little church. We started right before COVID, and we're meeting outside with 12 people and just started to found a building. Now we're back and just kind of growing and doing what I feel like God's called us to do, bringing hope. There's a lot of hopelessness, training young men, to stand, take a stand for truth and do what God has called us to do.
Yeah. How can people find you?
They can find me at pacificpointchurch.com or jblueppc@gmail.com. And I would love to be able to. I'm right in the middle now. We're building a platform for my speaking stuff, so I haven't finished that yet. You can go to Consult 39. It's not done yet, but that's what we're working with and starting to build that.
Consult39.com.
Consult 39. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good. So we can go check that out, and then we got to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let me know when you got that your speaking stuff up on point.
Get it out.
So then, so we can have people get there. Social media, you have.
I'm building all that now. So I'd never done any of that stuff. I'm like, what? And they're like, you got to do this. You got to have a presence here and here. So that's where we're at right now. So
yeah, and it's been fun having you. It's been great catching up. We haven't had a conversation like this in a long time.
It's been a while. It's been
good. I mean, the last time I think we actually really got to sit down and talk was at Jimmy May's retirement.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we had a couple of beers and had a great time. The girls were there. And Greg Huntington, my dude.
We didn't talk about Greg Huntington.
Oh, Lord, man.
That's a whole show.
Oh, that is a whole show. Talk about that dude. And I'd have him here, but I don't think he'd fit in this room.
Oh, he's a big man.
He is a huge human. Yes. This dude is like, you see this guy and you're like, and the big smile, you're just like, oh, look at this guy. Oh, he's he's
dumb offensive lineman.
Yeah, for like the
I say that
Steelers.
here.
For the Steelers, yeah, because he's not here.
He's not here. Jacksonville, yeah. He went to Penn. He's a real smart guy. He's legit.
Yeah,
Definitely.
he's doing big stuff now, and man, he's just Paul Gressmanis.
Yes, just talked to Grass.
Did you?
Yep, just talked to him last week.
Oh man, I got to hit him up. We'll take a picture. We'll send it off to Grass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Adam, you still in touch with Adam at all?
Not as much, but yeah, he's got a great church in New Jersey, doing well.
Oh, that's so good. I haven't talked to him in a while. That's
some great relationships that we had there.
Yeah,
definitely.
That is a fit man right there. He's like, I have a cheat hour. I'm like, most guys have a cheat day. I have a cheat hour.
Yeah.
I was like, tell me about your cheat hour. He's like,
Stupid.
He's like, Cinnabon, Baskin Robbins, everything. 1 hour of pure pound. He goes, and it's I come out of that I feel greasy coming out of my 1 hour, but
hilarious.
Then I'm back in it.
That's a discipline, man.
It is. But man, it's been fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
All right.
Bram Radio.